Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence makes people feel? How quickly conversations rush to fill empty space? How explanations spill out before anyone even asks for them? If you've ever felt the urge to explain yourself, to justify how you feel, to defend why you pulled back, stay with me. Because this isn't about communication. It's about the power of knowing when not to speak. A couple of years ago, I worked in an office where everything moved fast. Deadlines, meetings, pressure. There was a colleague of mine who barely spoke. Not because he was shy, not because he didn't care. He simply chose his words carefully. While others reacted instantly, complaining, arguing, explaining, he listened. One day, during a tense meeting, someone blamed him for a mistake he didn't make. Everyone expected him to defend himself, to explain, to push back. But he didn't. He stayed quiet. The room felt uncomfortable. People shifted in their seats. Someone else started talking just to fill the silence. And slowly, the truth came out, without him saying a single word. Later, I asked him why he didn't explain himself. He looked at me and said, "People who want to understand you will, and people who don't won't listen anyway." That moment stayed with me, because we're taught the opposite. We're taught that silence is weakness, that if you don't explain yourself, you'll be misunderstood, that you need to speak louder, clearer, more often. But silence isn't the absence of strength. It's often the result of it. Silence is what grows when you've already said enough, when you've explained yourself in every possible way and realized the misunderstanding was never about clarity. It was about willingness. Some people don't want truth. They want control. They want reassurance that you'll keep bending, keep adjusting, keep explaining yourself until they feel comfortable again. And silence interrupts that pattern, because silence removes leverage. It takes away the opportunity for your words to be twisted, minimized, or used against you. It keeps your inner world from becoming public property. There's a reason silence feels heavier than words. Words can be argued with, words can be dismissed, words can be reshaped to fit someone else's narrative. Silence stands still. It doesn't defend, it doesn't chase approval. It simply is. And when you allow silence to exist, you start noticing how much effort you were spending trying to be understood by people who weren't trying to understand you back. That realization alone changes how you move. Silence teaches you restraint. It teaches you patience. It teaches you that not every reaction deserves an answer, and not every moment requires your energy. At first, silence feels like loss. Like you're giving something up, like you're withholding parts of yourself. But over time, it feels like recovery, like you're finally conserving something important. Because peace doesn't grow in noise. It grows in space. Silence is what happens when you stop performing for understanding, when you stop translating your feelings into words for people who have already decided not to hear you. When you realize that not every space needs to be filled and not every emotion needs defending. There's a kind of silence that isn't emptiness. It's clarity. It's the quiet confidence of knowing you don't owe everyone access to your inner world. You don't owe explanations for your boundaries. You don't owe constant reassurance. You don't owe a response to every misunderstanding. Silence becomes powerful when it's no longer fear holding your tongue, but self-respect. When it's not avoidance, but discernment. Some people only listen when you explain yourself over and over. And even then, they don't understand you. They just learn where your limits are soft. Silence teaches something different. It teaches people that your peace is not negotiable. This is why silence feels uncomfortable at first. Because you're used to filling gaps, smoothing things over, making yourself easier to digest. And when you stop doing that, it feels like you're doing something wrong. But you're not. Silence gives you space to hear yourself again, to notice what drains you, what feels forced, what no longer fits the person you're becoming. It protects your energy before exhaustion turns into resentment. Not every situation deserves your voice. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Not every opinion deserves a response. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let silence speak. And here's something important to remember. People who are aligned with you won't be threatened by your silence. They won't demand explanations. They won't pressure you to perform. They'll feel the truth without you having to spell it out. Silence doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing where your energy goes. It means you've learned that peace doesn't always come from being understood. Sometimes it comes from no longer trying to be. So if you're quieter these days, if you're pulling back, if you're choosing stillness over noise, you're not losing yourself. You're protecting yourself. And that kind of silence isn't empty. It's full of strength. Silence is not about shutting people out. It's about letting yourself back in. It's about choosing presence over performance. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop reopening wounds just to make others comfortable. You stop reliving emotions you've already processed. You stop shrinking your boundaries to keep the peace. And slowly, something shifts. Your nervous system relaxes. Your thoughts become clearer. Your energy stops leaking into conversations that were never meant to nourish you. You begin to feel grounded again. Silence helps you recognize alignment, because the right people don't panic when you don't over-explain. They don't demand access. They don't take your quiet personally. They understand without forcing you to speak. And the ones who disappear when you stop explaining were only listening for what they could take from you anyway. Silence reveals that truth gently, without confrontation. So if you're learning to pause instead of react, if you're choosing stillness over noise, if you're speaking less but meaning more, you're not becoming distant. You're becoming intentional. You're choosing depth over volume, peace over performance, self-respect over approval. And that kind of silence doesn't weaken you. It steadies you. This is Deep Continuum, your safe space.